Hello, and welcome to Monumental, where we sit down with entrepreneurs, leaders, visionaries, and big thinkers making monumental change. Here's your host, Evan Holiday.
Welcome to Monumental. I'm your host, Evan Holiday, and today we have on the credit man himself, Jeff Sekinger. Jeff, how you doing, man?
I'm doing excellent. How are you doing, Evan?
Great. So Jeff is the founder of Credit Mastery Group, where he is basically bringing just massive value for credit, for travel, for finance hacks. They fund over $1 million per month at 0% interest. He's the co-founder of Orca Capital, and he has the goal of helping 100,000 people reach financial independence. So, Jeff, I've been following you for a while now, and we got to talk in your Credit Mastery Group a little bit ago. But you are just crushing it on, helping people reach their goals through credit and also just creating massive amounts of very valuable content. So with that, let's take it away and kind of give our listeners a little background on who you are.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for the intro there. That's a pretty good summary of what I'm up to. I'll kind of go more in depth just to give you some context about my story. So I've been in finance for 10 years. I'm 26 now. And I went to college. I got my finance degree. I got 2 minors in international business and economics. And then I worked for, 2 banks in college and had an internship over in Australia, which turned out to kind of be what led me to where I'm at now. And then after college, I graduated and I worked for the biggest bank in the United States. And I was just in private wealth management. And I thought that's what I always wanted my career to be. But then once I got there and I got licensed as my Series 7 and 66, and I was going to be like a financial advisor, I guess you'd say private client advisor. And then I just realized that, hey, I actually don't really want to work corporate. I'm much happier building something for myself. And I started a business while I was in that job. They denied the OBA, which is the outside business activity. And, right when they denied it, it took me about 2 hours to actually decide to quit. So that was on a Friday evening that they denied it. And I went on a Monday morning and just turned in my badge on 8 a.m. and started going all 100% in my company. And what I did is I started I have courses, I have digital products. That's actually, the Credit Mastery Group that you mentioned, that's actually like my digital product on Instagram. And then I have a consulting group that I spend most of my time in, and I'm helping early stage entrepreneurs and small business owners get their credit to the point where they can invest into things that produce income. And then I help them manage that new income to become financially independent. So that group is actually called FIA, which stands for Financial Independence Accelerator. And you're exactly right what you said. My whole mission between all the companies that I run right now is to help 100,000 people become financially independent, because I realize that being financially independent is actually what people are looking for. And it gives you something called freedom, options, and choices. And I think that has a huge impact on people's happiness. So I know it has on mine. The more freedom and options I've had, that has almost always directly come from getting my finances in good order, the happier I've been. So that's really what my mission is right now. And that's kind of my backstory. Does that make sense? Is that pretty clear?
Perfect, man. Nailed it. Full send.
Fully send. Honestly, that was I know that's kind of funny to say, and a lot of people relate that to drinking and stuff, but that phrase was the phrase that I used. I forget the word that I'm looking for, but that was a phrase that I used to convince myself to quit my job and go 100%. So that phrase has had a huge impact on my life.
That's amazing, man. That's ironic too, because that was the next question I was going to ask you was, what were the emotions like? What was the thought process behind leaving for the very next business day?
Yeah. So, first of all, I asked my family and friends what they thought. I was not making enough money to actually replace my income from my job. So it was not smart of for me to do that financially. And everyone that I asked told me not to do that. But I took that full send thing that you're talking about. There's a guy that his name, what's his name? He launches a jet ski off of those ramps over and over again. He's from Canada. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he always says like he goes, "What are you, silly? I'm just going to send it," and he sends it the most ignorantly way possible off a snowmobile ramp and just crashes over and over again. And I took inspiration from him, just going 100% in on whatever it is, and I use that phrase as like an affirmation, for myself to just like be like, give myself permission to go 100% in on what I knew I truly wanted to do. And that's where I took that phrase. That's how I leveraged that phrase. And once I started that mindset, everything changed for me. Like everything has grown so quickly since then. So I am 100% happy with my decision.
Well, I think that like hits and nails it perfectly of like having that mantra, that mindset, and also like putting a word behind it or a phrase that just immediately gets you pumped up. Like if you've ever seen Tony Robbins, he's like, make your move. He's like, that's like your move. Like that's you telling the world like, hey, this is my shit. Like I'm going to go all out. I'm going to play full out. I'm going to give it my all. And that's exactly what you've done. And how long ago was that when you left?
Sorry, his name is Larry Enticer. That's his name. He has a mullet. He looks really ridiculous.
Larry
that
Enticer.
was actually that would have been. So that was I moved out here in August. I think. Oh, I quit in. I believe it was April, May. I believe I quit in July so that would have been 18. Yeah. Nice. So it's been like just over 2 years now, or almost, just about 2 years now.
Wow. That's impressive, man. That's an impressive run in less than 2 years. What was that like? I mean, you said you weren't making enough money to replace your full-time income. What was that like at the beginning, starting out your business and not having that full replacement of income?
I mean, it was it was honestly pretty stressful at first because I still had some debt just from me having the consumer mindset. And honestly, that's why I got into credit, is because I had issues with my credit from prior businesses that I tried to run. And so what I did, I mean, I was personal branding with personal finance, which my employer was not okay with. So that was another determining factor of me leaving. But yeah, I mean, the first thing I did, I was like, I was still doing my personal brand. I was not monetizing it. And then I also started a marketing agency that I ran with my roommate. So right after I quit my job, I completely changed my environment. I moved downtown, moved in with another entrepreneur. We started the marketing agency. The marketing agency is what allowed me to pay my rent for the first like 3 to 6 months that I quit my job. So that was the thing that bridged the gap there. And then, my personal brand started taking off about 6 months after I quit my job. I started monetizing it very well. And then everything has exploded since then. So that's what I did to like kind of bridge that gap, which I think almost everyone has to do. Even if it's coming out of college, you want to be an entrepreneur. A lot of people don't understand that like it is still good to like work a job, get experience at like a corporate company, and like have some type of financial resources to be able to take that leap. I think a lot of people like really frown upon that, but I'm actually grateful that I did start corporate and now I'm doing what I'm doing, because it's definitely shaped who I am and how I operate. So but yeah, it did not work out as planned, I'll tell you that.
It rarely ever does.
Yeah.
So what about credit got you excited, or what drew you to that, and how did you get clear on what that was going to look like as far as services you could offer?
So what it came from was, like I said earlier in the podcast at the very beginning, I said I went to Australia and I worked for a company. I worked for a consulting company. We did tax, we wrote business plans, we did a little bit of wealth management. And the thing that I really liked the most was writing business plans for startups. And I wrote business plans for a lot of Canadian startups that were moving to Australia. And then I came back and started writing business plans just for like family and friends, like low key, like, you know, making a couple $1,000s, you know, writing in a plan. And then what I realized is all those people actually wanted some type of financing for the business. So I started doing research and I partnered with some finance companies. And what they were doing is leveraging people's personal credit to actually fund the startup. And I was referring business to them. And then I was like, you know what, this whole credit, I already know a lot about credit because I had a 524 credit score coming out of college because I was an idiot.
That's impressive.
And yeah. I ran companies on my personal credit that required inventory, and just say that it didn't it worked well for like 9 months. And then after the holidays, I just started focusing on school and it didn't go as well. So that ruined my credit score. I ended up fixing my credit. I got it to a 793 in less than 9 months. And that was just me literally just learning stuff and like repairing my own credit. And then I, you know, learned everything through the funding companies that I was working with. And I was like, man, I already am teaching about personal finance. I already know a lot about credit, and I know that there's a lot of value in funding. So that's when I just like decided to go all in on the niche. And it's been pretty amazing so far, and it fit right like exactly in with what I wanted to do, because I always liked working with entrepreneurs. I naturally gravitated towards that, and credit is like something that it's a tool that gives people so much opportunity. So it's been pretty awesome.
And then I really resonate with exactly what you're saying, and I think it's so true for our audience, especially like if there's a way that you can basically take credit and not just splurge and buy whatever the hell you want, or, you know, buy the trips, buy the lifestyle. Why not build a business or invest in a business with that credit you gained and use that business or investment to then build the lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And all my courses, literally the first thing that's in the course is it says, hey, we use credit to buy things that give us a return on investment. We do not have the consumer mindset where we buy things and stuff that we do not need, that has no utility. That's why people get into bad debt. It's like, you know about this, and I think a lot of your listeners do, is, you know, with real estate, you're leveraging good debt, which means that you're paying a lower interest rate than what you're receiving from the investment. And that's exactly what I'm teaching. It's just a little bit on a lower scale because, you know, the loans, you know, most with small business, most of them are around 100K, maybe 200K. And, you know, you're financing properties that are millions of dollars. So I'm teaching the exact same thing that you're teaching, just on a lower level with, you know, different types of businesses.
Yeah, I love that. And so what is like your 101 of credit mastery? Like what are kind of the first things you tell people when you're like, hey, this is how you get your credit right, this is how you get your finances in order to leverage it for your business?
Most important thing that people don't really understand is that your personal credit is truly your foundation for all the businesses that you're going to start and for any type of debt that you ever get. This is a fact you need to know. On average, the American spends $280,000 on interest on debt throughout their lifetime in the United States. So
yeah, wow.
You can limit that drastically if you start taking your personal credit seriously. And what I would recommend is, you know, obviously, you know, you probably know, make your payments on time. Don't let things go, you know, 30-day late payments or have collections, you know, pay all your stuff on time. But what a lot of people don't understand is you want to have a lot of accounts reporting on your personal credit. And when I say a lot, I mean, if you want a perfect credit score, which is an 850, you would need more than 21 accounts reporting on your personal credit. So, and you want a diversified mix of accounts. So people that come into my consulting program, they're either really young or they just have not been using credit correctly. I'm always like, look, I want to move you over to the business side of things, but your personal credit is so thin that honestly, me being a consultant and an advisor, it would not be in your best interest for you to just move straight to business. So what I always recommend is get at least 5 personal accounts, reporting on your credit, make on-time payments for years. You want to get as many accounts as soon as possible, because the longer they report and with the higher limits that you have, the better off you are to fund your business, the better off you are to pay lower premiums on your insurance, to put a lower down payment on a car, to get better rates on your mortgage, like literally everything. So I always recommend, look, get as many personal accounts as possible, as soon as possible. And you want those to age, just make on-time payments, and you will be in a really, really good spot for your business and just your personal finances.
Yeah, I love that. And admittedly, I'm a little bit of a credit junkie myself, and I think like having that mindset of like, hey, get your personal credit right, like build up your credit score, like take that shit seriously.
Yeah.
You know, get a really good score, because it will have huge ramifications. Like the interest rates we get on some of the smaller investments we do, they check my personal credit score, they check my payment history, and all of my finances. So they want to make sure that I know what I'm doing, and I get really good interest rates on some of those deals because of that. Same thing with an auto loan. Like there's just so many benefits, not to mention, you know, taking it to the next level of actually leveraging that 0% credit. So dive into that. Like, how do you leverage that 0% credit on the business side?
Yeah. So once you, this is another thing a lot of people don't understand, is you can fund a brand new business like pretty immediately, but that you're going to be better off, like I said, once you have your personal credit in good order. So what you want to do is like have at least a 700 personal credit score. Then obviously you go get an LLC. I usually recommend starting with an LLC unless you have, you know, you're getting some type of a corporation for tax purposes. I think so. Get that entity. You're going to get an EIN on that entity. Then you just go open up a business bank account, and then you can start applying for business credit cards almost immediately. And what you want to do, I mean, you can just go into like creditcards.com and go to, you know, business cards, and then sort it by 0% or low APR. And then you just search for the business cards that fit, you know, your business, and you can stack. It all depends on the revenue. So what you got to realize is the bank and lender or credit union is going to lend anywhere between 10 to 20% of your gross revenue of your business. So they take in, you know, the age of your business a little bit. They take into an account the revenue that you're stating that the business is going to earn, and they take into account, you know, your personal income, your DTI, and you know, your credit history. So within 7 days, you can start to have 0% credit. We see people anywhere from, you know, usually it's between 50 and 150,000 on like their first round of financing on a brand new business. If they have like strong personal credit, they're usually up closer to 100, if not a little bit higher. We've had a few people over 200, and yeah, it can go pretty quickly. So a lot of people don't realize that, like, you don't have to have business credit. They realize that, like, you're building business credit. They want to help you evolve your business. And 0% is so lucrative because it's free money. Like if you can't make 1% in a year, something is really, really wrong with what you're doing.
Yeah. And so these credit cards, I mean, they typically anywhere from 12 to 15 months, no interest, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, on average, I mean, they're anywhere from 9 to, I've seen them 24 months. It depends on the card and the product and the bank. It also depends on the region. And then also they'll send out special offers to certain clients. So, you know, if you fit like a certain description. So yeah, they can be up to 2 years at 0%.
That's it. That's impressive. And then as far as the amount that they'll lend you, that's based on a combination of things, but it's based on your personal credit and then also the revenue of your business.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, those are the two main factors. And another thing I just want to state is like, just because, like, I know a lot of people don't understand this, and I can see from when I'm running ads and just people that just do not understand the process that we go about, but your 0% can stay for quite a long time. If you, what we do is something called strategic 0% financing. So we have a certain order in which we go after certain banks and products, and then we can keep you at 0% for 3 to 5 years without even churning cards. So, which means like canceling old cards. So you can literally just do things like balance transfers or like, you know, a debt hacking technique that I probably won't go too much into because it can be there's kind of a lot of explanation behind it. But there's a lot of ways that you can stay at 0% for several years, if your investment takes longer to actually pan out.
And that doesn't hurt your credit score at all?
And that is exactly why I am doing what I'm doing now, is because when I was early in the process with doing, the business plans, I was referring to funding companies, they all do it on the personal credit side of things. Almost all of them do. And what I realize is that gets people stuck in a really bad situation. So I did not like that. So what we do is we leverage business credit so it doesn't report on your personal credit. Because if you max out cards and you use a lot of debt, your score is going to drop significantly. And then if you don't pay off that account, you're not going to be able to apply for more credit because you're too high of a risk, because your utilization is too high, your credit score is too low. So we do everything on the business side so we don't ever run into that issue.
That's interesting. And really anybody listening right now could, as long as they have an LLC, as long as they have good personal credit, they could go out right now and basically open up a 0% interest credit card with their business. Would not be part of their utilization for their personal side?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a few accounts you want to stay away from, like Discover and Capital One. But yeah, the vast majority of accounts on the business side do not report utilization on your personal credit until your business really scales and it becomes like a self-sustaining machine. You're going to have to put a personal guarantee on, which means you put your social security number down on the application. And the only time that would, ding your credit is if the business defaulted on the debt, then they would report the collection on your personal credit. But yeah, the utilization does not report on there. And, once you start building business credit efficiently and effectively, in about 2 years, you can start to have credit with no personal guarantee. And that's really should be your goal, like with business credit.
So, as far as do you have like one or two cards that are kind of your go-to recommendations for business credit?
Yeah. So we like this. So with our process, like I said, strategic 0%, what we do is we start with grade A banks, then we move to regional banks, and then we move to credit unions. So with the grade A banks that we start with, we almost always start with the banks that have the most stringent requirements in regards to applications and then like the best product. So we usually start with Chase, Amex, and then we'll go to like US Bank or like, it depends on the client situation, but it's usually Chase, Amex, and then US Bank.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So it sounds like, you're basically able to unlock this funding that a lot of people didn't even know they had access to.
Exactly.
And it pretty much, as long as you have a good credit score and you put together an LLC, and you can have access to the same funding as well. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it does not discriminate. I have people from all walks of life in my program, from age 19 to age 65. People come in with like really, and if you're listening right now and you have really bad personal credit, you need to realize that you can get that cleaned up in like as little as 30 days. Between 30 and 90 days is realistic to like actually clean up your credit. Obviously it can take longer depending on what company you use. If you're going to use a repair company, I do not suggest using a company that puts you on a subscription. Pay a one-time fee, pay a legitimate company to help you. And I'm telling you, you can get your credit up over 700 pretty quickly. So don't feel like discouraged. So yeah, really, this is for anyone in the United States.
So why the hell aren't more people doing this?
They don't have the knowledge, and that's literally why I'm here, and that's
why Jeff is here. I mean,
yeah,
that's amazing, man. So tell us about how you started. So you have the Credit Mastery Group, you have the Financial Accelerator, and then you also have consulting as well. Or walk us through your different businesses.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna take you on a value ladder because that's how businesses should operate. So people will start, at the bottom with my Credit Mastery Group, which is a $97 a month product, just to get information, get their feet wet, see what's possible with credit and see what's possible with business credit. From there, I have like $1,000 course that teaches everything about personal credit, travel, and there's some awesome business information in there as well. And then after that, the next step, clients can go really one of two ways. So if they want to go learn about everything and learn how to do it themselves, which I believe in, that's why I promote that the most, is because I believe in financial empowerment. Because I'm teaching people how to fish. I'm not just handing them a fish. I want them to like be able to sustain for themselves. So if they want to go that way, they would go into FIA, the Financial Independence Accelerator, where we actually teach people how to do this. Like we underwrite their credit profiles. We show them how to set up a business. We connect them with tax professionals. We connect them with relationships at banks that we have. Like I said, we underwrite their file. We make recommendations, and then we coach them on actually utilizing that credit, which I know you have like a client that came from us. That's awesome. I love when people reinvest into more information and can take it to the next level. So that's what that program does. It's credit, income, and wealth. And all three of those things are helping people become financially independent. So that's like a done with you model. So they could go from those two things into the done with you model, or they could go to our done for you models, which is, we have a repair service and we have a funding service as well. So if they just want literally just funding, we just do a success fee and, we'll fund them for you. Some people just don't have time and they just want to flip property in 30, 60 days. They're like, yo, just give me money. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So we have that done for you. And then after that, like I have right now, I haven't released this, but I have a higher level consulting that's for business owners that have businesses that do over 50K a month. And we help them with corporate credit. So that's a whole different level. So we're talking about small business credit. There's a whole nother level, which is corporate credit. And you really want to, have a little bit of age and obviously have revenue on your business. And you can get financing, a lot higher financing if you do. So that's really the next level. And then, my hedge funds, probably a whole nother thing we could talk about, but that's not credit related. So
give us high level of the hedge fund that you're starting.
Yeah. So we started it in April of 19. So it's not even a year old yet. And we're right around $1 million of AUM so far. It's a digital asset fund. So we're swing trading cryptocurrency, and we have long and short positions. And I have a trader out in LA that does everything. I've known him for over 10 years, and it's just been absolutely insane how he's grown his accounts. So we partnered on more of the front end of the company, and he is the operations, and then obviously we have a few back end employees as well. But I'm super excited for that. Like that's my super long-term business model. And I'm really excited about that. But that's for like, high net worth individuals, which, most people are not coming from, courses and stuff at that level. So it's a little bit different of a client.
Yeah, that's great, man. So you really have a value proposition and a way to add value to pretty much anybody that finds you online or wherever. And really be able to add that all the way from free value from watching YouTube or Instagram all the way up to, high value, high touch, done for you work, and then the hedge fund.
Exactly. And I think what's really important is like for people that are like trying to build like a massive business is to understand the flywheel. So when a customer comes in to like, from our marketing material, they find me organically, and they talk to my sales team or they talk to me, like they're getting sold almost every single time on something because, if they don't want to spend money, they can go into a done for you model that has a success fee. If they want to spend, if they want to have more one-on-one with me, there's that option. If they just want a course, there's that option. Maybe they're just trying to grow their wealth. There's, I have the Orca Capital. So, understanding the flywheel is like super important. That's been something I've been really working on building out. And yeah, I do have almost anything for anyone that comes to me that cares about money.
Yeah, that it cares about getting better and growing their business. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
What give our listeners a little background. What is a flywheel?
Yeah, so it's pretty much a wheel where it's like so it's called a flywheel because you're catching, it's like a web like that a spider would put out. So you're like literally catching every source of traffic that's coming in, And the flywheel feeds each other. So you would look at it like, okay, here's Jeff Sekinger in the middle. And then here's, someone comes in from a lead from a marketing company, they can go into credit mastery group, and then they would go to a course, and then they would go down to like my consulting, and then they could go up, or they could go to a done for you model, which the done for you model feeds that business. And then after the done for you model, I'm helping them make a lot of money in their business. So now they're going to reinvest back into me, which is putting money into Orca. So they just literally just go around in a wheel, and there's, that one thing feeds another thing. The reason why so many people fail in business is because they're doing a ton of different things that are like completely uncorrelated, and their energy is going in a million different ways. Yes, I do have a lot of different businesses, but they all feed each other and they all work together. And that's why it works.
Yeah, I love that. So which of those businesses did you decide to start with first?
Yeah, so it's really, really important to actually establish like a core product. So a lot of people try to do, launch a bunch of different products. What you want to do is focus on like one core offer that you nail down, and you get a lot of testimonies. You provide the most amount of value. And once you develop that core product, then you can create like a free product, which can bring in leads to help get into that core product. And then after that core product, you can also create a subscription model and a high ticket offer. So like if you're just starting it, especially if like your personal branding or something, start with a course, something, that's easy, that's scalable, that there's not a lot of overhead. Deliver a ton of value in that core offer. And then from there, you can create a free offer, and then like a subscription and high ticket. And then you can start doing your flywheel. But you really want to nail down that core offer first.
So that core offer for you, was that the financial?
That was my $1,000 course.
Okay.
And then after that, I created a free product, which is like 3 steps to travel for free. I collected lists and leads for that. And then right after that, I launched a subscription, which is the Credit Mastery Group. And then right after that, I launched my high ticket consulting. And then from there, I was like, oh, people just want done for you. And then, Orca came along as well. So
that's amazing, man. Just continually growing the business, growing the pipeline, growing the cash flow model to basically be able to have multiple businesses that are feeding on each other and growing on each other.
Yep. The key word is just synergy. Like there has to be some synergy. When people say like they're because I do consulting, I have almost 200 people in here in like the last 7 months. So many people come to me and say like they're starting a t-shirt company, and then they're doing janitorial services, and then they're getting into real estate, and they're considering digital marketing. I'm like, look, how many of those things actually relate with each other?
Yeah.
Like, maybe the marketing can help a few of the other businesses, but you do not want to be going in that many directions, because you're going to get nowhere. You can really do anything, but you can't do everything. That's what I always say. So like, it's really, really important to just like focus, which is, if you spell out focus, I always say this: follow one course until successful. So, do one thing until you're really good at it, and then start doing other things. Like if you look at the greats, Warren Buffett, LeBron James, anyone that's like amazing, they've done one thing before they've moved on to like philanthropy or, starting other business models. So I think it's just so important to do that.
So where do you think you get your drive to make all this happen?
I think, I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I don't know if people are like born with it, but honestly, I've had drive like since I can remember, and I felt like I was kind of suppressing my drive throughout life, just going through the motions in college and then in the corporate world. And I was just terribly unhappy doing that. And once I gave my permission to full send and actually go for after business, like everything got a lot better. But I think the biggest thing was, both my parents are entrepreneurs. We moved to Columbus, Ohio, which is where I was pretty much raised for almost 20 years. And we moved there, and then my parents, we moved there because my dad was starting a business, and he was super busy with that. My mom, so my parents ended up getting divorced after we moved to Columbus, like literally like a year and a half after. And then 2008 hit. My mom had just started like a real estate business. So her business was like really suffering after 2008. my dad's business, he was in energy. Obviously, the recession affected everyone. So we moved from like a really big house that my parents built together into like my dad moved into like a really small apartment, and I saw both sides of things. Like I saw like great success, and I saw like, you know, not so great success. And what I realized is there was a lot more stress in my life when our finances were not in, you know, in the right spot. And I 100% could relate it. It wasn't correlation, it was causation. Like I knew that that's what caused the stress in my household. And that's like something that has definitely, I think, stuck with me and given me a drive to want to make a lot of money. And I also realized that once you make a lot of money, you can help a lot of people. I just watched, you know, Bill Gates documentary on what he's doing abroad, and it's like literally mind blowing. So those like really impact. And then just realizing like finances cause like over half of divorces, and, you know, divorces are not fun. So I'm trying to get my finances right. I'm trying to help people for sure.
That's awesome, man. And I completely agree. I think finances are kind of the backbone of your freedom. They're backbone of your ability to make an impact in the world and to help other people and to live the life you want. Like that is what finances everything that you do. And it can buy you happiness to a degree. Yeah. So I completely agree, man. So one last question, as far as 2020, as far as your goals, as far as like what's next for Jeff, how are you setting your goals? And then what are like one or two of your big crazy goals you're looking at right now?
Biggest goal is $1 million a month. I'm just going after $1 million a month. This is on video, right? Let me show you.
Oh yeah.
This is what I look. So I work a lot, like in this area that I'm at. Can you see this?
Yeah, all aboard. $1 million a month.
Yeah. So this is what I look at every single day. It's me on a train, and I'm just getting my team on the train to $1 million a month. So that's
nice.
That's like with my done for you model and like my consulting. So that's what that's my biggest goal. I set a time frame. Like anytime you have a goal, you just need like a plan, a deadline, and consistent action. So my deadline is June 30th. That's when I turn 27, and that's when we're going to get to that mark. So that's my biggest goal. And then I'm going to raise $4 million for my hedge fund this year individually, you know, with no brokers or anything. And then I got a few other like big goals too. So
dude, that's amazing.
Yeah. It's the power of visualization right there. I look at that multiple times a day, every single day.
$1 million a month. Here we go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we'll have to check back in after June 30th. Cause I'm sure you'll be hitting that, probably far exceeding that. So
yeah, please do, man. I'm super excited.
Well, let's jump into our monumental questions. What does success mean to you?
So I think just getting whatever you want, and what I want is just more freedom and more impact, and like positive impact. When I say that, I just want to help people create more freedom in their life, because like I said earlier, I think that's a huge I don't know how I would say this. A huge variable in actually creating happiness is having more freedom. So I think success is getting whatever you want. I don't think it's money. I don't think it's like a cool haircut. I don't think it's anything like, you know, anything like that. It's just really depending on the person and whatever goal they have. So I really believe it could be different for everyone. But for me, it's just more freedom and helping more people create freedom.
Yeah, love it. What about daily habits or morning rituals?
Yeah. So, every single day I work out. It's very rare that I do not work out. So, I'm always working out, because I believe if you can control your body and like your physical body, you can control your mind a lot better. It also helps you relax. It also helps build confidence. If you know anything about high performers, the biggest thing is self-esteem, and you can build self-esteem through like controlling your body and like moving it in powerful ways. So, and also seeing, you know, growth in yourself, I think is really, really important. So I work out. It's rare that I miss a day, but it definitely happens, because I'm not, I'm human. But that's a huge thing. And then as far as my morning goes, what I do is, so I'm in San Diego right now. I can literally see sailboats like over the rooftops right here. Like I'm really, really close to the water. So what I do is I'll wake up usually about like 6:30 or 7, and then I eat a banana. I drink vitamin C. I do not pick up my business phone. I actually have 2 phones. You know, this is my personal, this is my business. And I do not pick up my business phone until I spend 30 minutes outside. I walk around the water. I'll listen to, some type of an influencer that I like, motivation or a podcast or something positive. And then I'll come back in, and then I start my morning meetings with my team. I have 17 employees now, so it's been growing pretty quickly. Yeah, so the morning meeting starts at 8:30 a.m. I talk to my sales team and my operations employees, and then from there I go to the other 13 employees. So yeah, my day really starts at like 8:30. I have that morning meeting that lasts it's usually about an hour and a half with the whole team. And then from there, it's just, starting on my list of things to do, which is endless. But yeah, that's kind of my morning. But as far as like something that someone could pick up from this, I don't eat anything besides like a protein bar and banana. And then obviously I drink water and like vitamin C, like I said, and some espresso. Like I just drink straight espresso. But I learned that from Jesse Itzler.
Yeah.
So I just do the whole fruit until noon thing, because your digestive system takes up like the most energy in your body. So what I do is I try to conserve the most energy for my body for throughout the day. And I just eat, a banana, like I said, a little bit of protein, and then I'll just drink water until noon, and then I'll have lunch, and then I usually go work out in the afternoon. So
that's awesome.
That's like my morning ritual.
Well, I want to we'll have to catch up, because I feel like I want to dive more into your business setup, and then also your scheduling and how you prioritize. But for another episode.
Yeah, definitely. I'm working a lot on that right now, dude, because it gets hectic.
Well, what about book you recommend, or favorite book?
Yeah. So let me grab. This is the book that I'm currently reading right here. So it's called Big Debt Crises. It's by Ray Dalio. I really look up to Ray Dalio. I mean, he's the most successful hedge fund manager of all time. And I mean, just learning from his principles book, I mean, he's just crazy intelligent and in the most applicable way possible too. Like, so many people try to like specialize in certain things, but they don't even understand the macro of it. Like for you, like what is real estate? Well, like, why is it valuable? You know what I'm saying? Like they don't.
Yeah.
And same with like if you're going to go into business, you should probably understand the economy. And if you're going to go into credit, you need to know how the credit influences the entire economy, because it does. Like every recession, every correction, everything is almost always determined by there's a long-term and short-term debt cycle, and credit is a huge catalyst to when those things happen. So I think it's really, really important to understand the macro before you can get into the micro. That's something I'm doing right now. It's a 3-part series. That's by far the smallest part. So it's a hefty amount of information. But the book that's had the biggest impact on me is, since I'm like personal branding a lot, now a lot of my business comes from my brand, is Crush It by Gary Vee. So that was the book that I read right prior to quitting my job. And that really gave me a lot of inspiration and like motivation to start doing what I'm doing now. I literally listened exactly to what Gary said in that book, as far as like what mediums to post on, how often to post, what to talk about, how to go about it. I literally did exactly what he said. And that's why my brand has blown up. So I owe everything to him. And that had the biggest impact on my life, at least in the past 2 years.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love how he says he's basically like, document, don't create. Like if you're getting started, just put something out there.
Yeah, exactly. It almost doesn't even matter what. And it just matters that you're genuine and you're consistent.
Yeah. So. And guys, I can vouch for Jeff. He is consistent and he creates some awesome content, and he's pretty funny too.
Thanks, Evan. I appreciate that.
Well, guys, Jeff, I had a awesome time on this episode. I feel like our listeners are going to get some massive value from this. Hopefully they're going to take some action and going to unlock some massive potential in their credit, and be able to leverage that in real estate, or whatever business they're in. But how can our Monumental listeners follow you or reach out to you?
If they want to like reach out to me, Instagram for sure is usually the best spot. So I would go there. If you want to like learn more, if you want like more content and just like more free information, I mean, you can look at my IGTV, or there's a lot. I'm pumping out 3 videos a week at minimum on YouTube. So, go check me out there. I'm really working on growing that channel, which it's growing like 20 subscribers a day now, which is awesome. But yeah, one of those 2 places right now is IG or YouTube. And
That's
it's just
awesome.
at Jeff Sekinger. It's just my name.
Guys, take him up on that. And guys, if you enjoyed today's episode with Jeff, make sure to tag him on social media, share it, tag him, tag me, let us know you're listening, and let us know you enjoyed, put a certain part that you really enjoyed the most. And also do not forget to subscribe, rate, review on iTunes or wherever you're listening right now to Monumental. And guys, with that, have a monumental day.